Okay, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us on this webinar about DAPSI, the Data Portability and Services Incubator, which is funded by the European Commission under Age 2020 and is part of the Next Generation Internet initiative. And it's a huge opportunity for Internet innovators to have funding support, huge funding support, up to 150,000 euros, and support services and activity. So I believe you will be very interested in the offer that we have to present you today. I'm Miguel Gonçalves. I'm from F6S, the largest startup SMEs community globally. We have over 1.7 million entrepreneurs, and I will be your co-host for today's webinar, whose purpose is to explain what DAPSI is and how to apply it to the program. This episode will be recorded and made available on YouTube, and the slides will be shared on the SlideShare as well. And I'd like to introduce to the agenda and the speakers. So we'll have Sara Mateo from Zavala Innovation Consulting, which is the coordinator, and she will explain us what exactly is DAPSI. And then we'll have Najme from Fornofer IS that will explain what are the data portability challenges that we want to work on in this program. Then a very important part of the session will be the explanation of how to apply to this open call and to the DAPSI program. All your questions that you may be having on the process of submitting your proposal, a lot of them will be answered here or at the end of the session. So please, regarding questions, use the chat box to write all your questions, and at the end of the session, we will answer them one by one. Point 5, we'll talk about the incubation program, and we have here with us Augustin Radu from AMT Starter, talk about what you should expect if you get selected to the program. And finally, Alfonso from engineering will talk also about the infrastructure support and training tools that you'll be able to get. And I would pass the microphone to Sarah to explain us what exactly is DAPSI and DAPSI purpose.
Thank you, Miguel. Okay, so let's start with a general overview for all of you about the project. Okay, so to understand DAPSI, I would like to start with the context to see the origin for this project. First, we have the new regulation, the GDPR, that entered into force last May 2018. With this new regulation, and specifically related to Article 20, there is a goal to make for citizens easier to, for example, have any data which is stored with one service provider transmitted to another provider directly and in an easy way. It also is related to how to give concerned persons better control over their personal data. And in this framework, there is a clear barrier, a technology barrier to be addressed. So also, on the other hand, we have the NGI initiative by the European Commission, the Next Generation Internet. This was launched by the Commission on 2016 with the general aim of making a more human-centric internet, more open, inclusive, transparent, with privacy warranted, and there is, under this initiative and taking into consideration this regulation, they launched a topic specific topic to found a project that addresses this data portability issue. So we founded our DAPSI project with European Commission funding. And the idea here is to foster the advanced research in data portability, to develop solutions by researchers, SMEs, startups, innovators, developers working in this field to provide real solutions for this challenge. They will receive equity-free funding from us, and also a pack of services, supporting services, coaching, mentoring in different areas, technical and business areas. And this will push them to really generate use cases with potential to reach the market. Well, some information about the project. It started last November. We are in the first phase of our project. It will have a duration of 3 years. And to carry out all the work, we will have 7 million euros from the European Commission. From this amount, it's important for you to know that 5.6 million will be totally devoted to support third parties. And also to implement this project, we have a team of 6 partners from 5 countries. I would like also to introduce all my colleagues in this consortium to also give you an overview of who we are. I work for Cevala Innovation Consulting. This company is in charge of the coordination of the project and also in charge of all the open code procedure, the preparation, evaluation, selection. We have also on board F6S with Miguel today connected. As already said, this is a large social network of startups with more than 1 million tech startups in this platform, and they will lead the dissemination activities in the project, and they will also provide the platform, the F6S platform, for all the application and submission activities. We have also on board Fraunhofer. This is a very relevant research center in Germany. They have the scientific expertise in data portability in our consortium, so they will lead this aspect. We have also engineering. This is a large IT services group in Italy that will participate, providing interesting access to infrastructures and tools, later explained. And we have also 2 more partners, French partners. The first one is Cap Digital. This is one of the largest business clusters in Europe. We have also IMT with the IMT starter division that, well, as a public institution with support to business development with 8 engineering schools, will provide this expertise to the selected third parties. So both Cap Digital and IMT will support the business development of our selected participants during the program. In figures, we can say that now we are launching our first open call, but during the project duration, there will be 2 more open calls, 3 in total. Through the 3 calls, we will engage around 50 innovators. They will be engaged in a 10 months program. They can receive up to 150,000 euros for the participation in this program. And as already mentioned, with the possibility to get this funding, we will distribute 5.6 million euros by the end of the project. Well, once they are selected through the open goal process, they will start the participation in a 2 phases program. It will start in September and will last until May of the following year. In this first call, we will select 15 teams. They will be engaged in the phase 1, where they can get up to 100,000 euros. This amount will be paid through in 3 different moments. There will be a first pre-financing at the beginning of the program. Then there will be a midterm evaluation remote with a first payment. And finally, at the end of the phase, there will be a demolition pitch where they will have to show the first prototype of their solution. And after that, they will receive the second payment. During this phase, they will receive funding, of course, but also some training services, access to infrastructure. I am not going to give more detail now because Agustin and Alfonso will provide more insights later. But there is a very complete pack of services. What happened at the end of this phase 1? Well, from these 15 teams, only the 10 best teams will be selected to progress to the second phase, where there is a possibility to get an extra funding of 50,000 euros. This will be all paid at the end of the phase, once the teams are able to present a minimum viable product of their solution, well, product or service or a solution in general terms. During this phase, again, they will receive more coaching and services as provided in the first phase. And just to finish with this first part, well, to explain you who is the target audience here, we allow the participation of both natural persons or legal entities. Both options are totally possible, and we allow the individual participation, but also the possibility to apply in a consortium. So more than one natural person, more than one legal entity, or even combination of both, it's possible. According to this configuration, the funding can be limited. It means that, for example, in the case of one individual natural person applying, the total funding, the maximum funding, will be 37,500 euros. For the case of 2 natural persons, it's limited to 75,000 euros. And for any other case where we can have a legal entity or more than 2 persons or combination of both, the maximum amount will be 150,000 euros. And also, I would like to highlight that when we talk about the natural persons or the expert team in the legal entities, we can find internet technologists, researchers, innovators, developers, any profile with the enough skills to implement this data portability challenge. And that's it from my side. Now I give the floor to Natsme.
So, hello from my side, everyone. I will briefly talk about the data portability challenges in this call. We kind of identified three main subdomain of data portability, which are data transparency, data interoperability and compatibility, security and privacy, and one general other subdomain. So the data transparency, it kind of deals with for a more transparent personal data storage and a more fine-grained data transfer when the data subjects and the end users exercises their personal data rights. Data interoperability and compatibility, it kind of finds the solutions and methods to facilitate switches between service providers when the data is being transferred. The security and privacy ensures that the personal data are transferred in a secure way, and the other subdomain, it kind of includes the other potential domains like data correction, data ownership, user education, or any other domain that we didn't think of and the applicants wants to address. So data transparency, as I said, it kind of deals with more transparent data, personal data storage. And nowadays, the service providers, they do not follow any specific data structures when they want to store their personal data. So this makes the transfer very complicated. Our solution is using open standards and established standards for storage and delivery of data. So this would mean using vocabularies, ontologies, metadata description, etc. So the challenges during this data transfer, well, first, the solution should assure that the data subject has the control of traceability of his or her own data during the transfer, and some visualization tools to improve the end user understanding, and also enabling the end user to change their settings at any time. So the second subdomain is data interoperability and compatibility. When the data is being transferred from one environment to the second environment, this may be difficult because the different service providers, they may have different data models and architectures. What is the solution here? Again, whenever we talk about interoperability, the common standards and shared vocabularies comes into the pictures on top of FAIR principles, if you're familiar with. So FAIR principles talk about findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable data. The challenges during this data transfer is first designing a cross-domain data architectures so that the different data service providers and the different environments can follow this model and architecture. So as I said before, using established and open data models and standards, and also some tools for data conversion from one format to another. For example, the simplest one would be converting JSON to RDF or XML to RDF, and etc. So the third one is security and privacy. Yeah, the solution should ensure a secure data encryption and transmission during the data transfer. It should also implement full anonymization. And also, it should ensure correctness and integrity of data during this transfer. And there is also one general domain that we may not think of in our three main subcategories. For example, data correction, data ownership, which deals with all the legal rights of the personal data owner. User education, for example, GDPR in European Union is very high importance now. and as I said, other domain that can be potential in this subfield. Yeah, that was from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Najma. I see that I see that we have a lot of questions that are rising on the chat box. That's very good. Please don't forget to add them, so we can answer them at the end of the session. I will now pass the microphone to Augustin. Augustin, no, sorry, to Natalia.
Yeah.
Sorry, Natalia. Very important. How to apply to DAPSI. It's important to all our webinar attendees right now. The main questions, I believe, are related to this topic.
Yeah, thank you, Miguel. Well, I'm going to explain you how to apply to this open call. The first step, I would say you that if you are decide to apply and you see that you have a good idea in this area and you want to participate, I will recommend you a first and basic step, that is to read the guidelines and also the facts, frequently asked questions that we have in our website. So first, please read all this information in detail because this is really, really important. This guidelines gives you an overview of the call, the eligibility criteria, the evaluation process, the financial support, the services that are going to be provided, how to prepare the proposal and submit it, and well, all the information needed and important. So please do it. Well, the second step is to think of a good idea in the data portability domain. We are looking for questions, challenges, or solution in this field, and this is a key in the open call. As it was already presented, there are main areas identified, but you can offer whatever you think it can be relevant. And with this very clear, you can start with the preparation of the proposal. Well, how to apply, how it works. This is the important part. We have a form ready for submission that you can see in the F6S platform, which is the official channel to use. In this F6S form, there are different sections to prepare the proposal. There is a first section with the proposal identification, a second one where you have to indicate the subdomain you will address in your proposal. Also, there is a section for administrative data about the participant, the applicants, and other participants in case there is a consortium. Then section 4 is the proposal description. And finally, section 5 contains some formal questions like the declaration that you are in compliance with the open call rules or that information submitted is true. We have seen in the application already submitted that sometimes it's a common mistake that people is not using the official template we provide. Here in this slide, you can see that there is a proposal template that it's mandatory. This is very, very important. This document is a Word document with all the sections that you have to complete in the proposal. You have an extension limit of 10 pages. There is also through the document in blue color a text with some guidelines about what you have to include in each section. So please, when you see the template, read these guidance very carefully and try to respond to all the information requested in each section. It is important to you to know that each section and each information that is requested is directly linked with the evaluation criteria. So if you miss some of the information we expect, it will penalize in the evaluation. So please take this into account also. And the last thing is an additional template that you have to upload only in those cases where the consortium is large. The form in F6S is prepared for a maximum of 3 natural persons and 3 legal entities. So if there is the case that, for example, you apply and you are a group of 4 individuals, a natural person, you don't have space enough in the form to complete the information for all the participants. So in those cases, you will have to submit this additional template with the description of each participant. Well, I'm gonna review the eligibility criteria, which means that if you meet all the conditions, you can be legally selected to participate in the DAPSI program. If in any case you don't comply with all the conditions, you will be automatically discarded and you will not be evaluated. So it is important to review all the eligibility conditions to be sure that you can participate. The first one is the type of beneficiary. Sarah has explained before that any natural person or legal entity is allowed to participate, but there is an exception and is for the large enterprise. They are excluded. They cannot participate because well, they are not in the objective of our program. The second thing is about the country of establishment or residence, establishment in case of companies and resident for the people applying as natural person. You have the full list of eligible countries described in the guidelines, but in general, I could say that the eligible that are eligible the member states of the European Union, also the overseas countries and territories linked to the member states, the Horizon 2020 associated countries, and also just clarify that UK participants are eligible for this call. The third thing is the language. Please take into account that the official language for the application and evaluation will be English. Also noted that no multiple submission is allowed. Only one proposal per applicant will be evaluated, and if you submit more than one proposal, only the last one will be considered. In the case of individuals, for example, you have to participate also just in one proposal. It is a condition for both entities and individuals. Also here we include that there is an official submission system and templates, so the submission should be done through this official system. We cannot receive, for example, your proposal by email, and we are not going to admit any proposal that is using different templates. In relation to the conflict of interest, applicants cannot be, for example, DAPSI consortium partners or affiliated entities to the consortium partners. And finally, very important, the deadline, proposals submitted after the deadlines are not eligible. So take into account that the 22nd of April at midday, we have our deadline. Regarding the evaluation, there will be different steps. The first one will be the eligibility filter, where we will check the consortium, the eligibility consortium conditions, and we will discard those proposals submitted, for example, by people who is not based in an eligible country. Once this filter is done, the eligible proposal will be evaluated remotely by external evaluators. Each proposal will be evaluated by 3 experts, and they will do this in relation to the 3 main areas that appears here. The excellence and innovation of the proposal with a 40% of weight, the expertise and excellence of the proposed team with 30% of weight, and the project planning and value for money with 30% of weight. Each criterion will be evaluated from 0 to 5, and each main category, excellent, expertise and excellent of the team, and project planning will have a threshold score of 3 out of 5 points. For the total score, there is also a threshold, but of 12 points out of 15. Once the evaluation is finished, there will be a consensus meeting, and as a result, we will generate the ranking list of the selected participants. This list will be finally approved by the European Commission, and we will proceed then to the communication of the results. Well, the timeline for this first open call is the one shown in this image. We will close the call on the 22nd of April. Then there will be the evaluation process that I have just explained. and the communication of results is expected to be done by June. Then there will be a process of sub-grantee agreement preparation and signature, and that will be carried on during July and August. And to finalize, once the contracts with the selected participants are finished, we will be able to start with the phase 1 of the program in September. Well, to finalize this part, just give you a last message, that is that, well, you have our open call ready, an offer for all your applications, so please go through it. You can go through this link that is on the screen. And also please have into account that the application deadline is next 22nd April, and important that it finishes at 12 noon, midday. It's not midnight, so be please careful with this. And this is all from my side.
Okay, thank you, Natalia. Excellent, valuable information for all of the participants and very detailed. Thank you very much for that. We will now talk about, so if you apply and get selected, what you expect from the program. So we have with us today Augustin from EMT Startup, who can explain us what the incubation program.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Augustin Rado. I'm working to EMT Starter since 19 years now. Our business incubator exists since 20 years. It's the 4th incubator in France, and more than 80% of our companies are still alive. So let's say that we know how to deal with ideas, projects, startups, and younger companies at all the levels, because once again, even for us and even in these projects, what we will do is we will definitely adapt ourselves and the services we propose to your level of, let's say, of development, which is an interesting and also a tricky part for us. But also with CAP Digital, let's say that this is our job all day long, so it would be any problem. I try to go on the next slide, but here we go. So I try also to, by presenting this, I will go quite quickly, try also to reply to some of the questions that I can see on the chat. So the program will be launched as soon as you are selected, and I hope so. There will be a kickoff meeting where we will ask the participants to be present. For instance, we haven't defined exactly the place. It might be in Paris, or let's say one of our partners' country, which means Germany or Spain. And for the first phase, the incubation program, you will get like 10 online program. I will go a little bit deeply on the next slide. So will be 5 times 2 hours of online presentation and work. And in the meantime, you will have 2 times 2 hours of mentoring session with successful entrepreneurs that we have already selected, that we already use since years with our projects. So people that know exactly how to deal with ideas, with projects, and so on. And the idea is that we will set with you on the first meeting number of the KPIs that you have to reach. This is something which is very important for us and also for you, because on the second part of the program, you will have what we call the demolition pitch, which will be in front of an advisory board. So this time, once again, you have to be on site. We haven't defined yet, but there will be one in one of our countries. And this will happen in January 2021. Well, unfortunately, 5 of you, the program will be finished, and the 10 others will we go to the second phase, which will take part from January to May next year. And during this phase, you will continue to have mentoring sessions with the mentors that you already met before. So now they know a little bit your program quite well. And this is, once again, the whole idea is to challenge you and to get the next bunch of KPIs that we will make with you. The program will finish for you in May 2021, which in the front, well, let's say that you will have to do this, the last pitch in front of another advisory board that we have for this project. And what we really expect is that all this help and also all this money, you use it in a definite good way. And this is what we are looking for by reaching those KPIs and also have a real impact by your company, by the product or services that you propose. And let's say that can be a real success for all of us. And also you can imagine that also the European Commission, we have to also provide that there was a success to them. So for the, I will go quite quickly on the online training. So as I said, there are 5 2 hours online training. We are doing this with a super expert that is internationally well known. So this will be online, so you don't have to be on site. I think we'll do it by Zoom. So the first 30 minutes you will work, and he will see also how you advance from the, let's say, from the first step. Well, we put these steps because we think that most of the time the projects, it's still in the beginning, which means that you still need to do a path to the product market fit, which means the basic that you have to do, which means that you have to work on your value proposition. After that, once you detect the problem, let's say, how you will find it and how your solution fits with this project, which means that you have to focus a little bit on your clients. On the third time, on the third online session, you will work also on the value proposition that you have to deliverable. For a third one, experimentations and risk assumptions, and at the end, how you create your strategy and how you will network. You will see that you will get some quite high level KPIs, which is, I think it's important also for you and also for us, which means that what we are really looking for is that the impact that you get by being selected in this project is really huge, and is not only in terms of your country, but also all around Europe. So yeah, once again, these are big themes. You can imagine that there will be different, let's say, we will adapt ourselves to your projects, but keep in mind that yeah, the KPIs will be quite high, reasonable once again, but quite high because it's exactly what we are looking for. And by the way, if we select you, it's that we also think that you have a real potential and a real impact by being selected in this project. Next slide. Well, I'm done. If there are any precise questions, I will be happy to reply in the end. And I let the floor to my friend from Italy to present the infrastructure and the tools that we provide to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, excellent, Augustin. Thank you very much. So now we are going to talk about infrastructures and tool, and we have Alfonso with us from engineering.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Miguel. Okay, so let's see today a very quick overview of the tools that we are going to use in DAPSI. So first of all users will have free access to Fiber Lab, an OpenStack cloud environment where everyone can experiment freely to boost their idea. beside the infrastructure layer, a support tool will be available to support participants in any kind of problem. And then, of course, as already mentioned by my colleagues, we will train all users through webinars, tutorials, face-to-face meeting, and so on. And all this material will be collected in a specific DAPSI knowledge base. Also, on the usage of the mentioned tools and infrastructure, we follow dedicated training session. Just see some more details. So in Power Lab, basically, you will be able to create and managing virtual machines, containers, security rules, and so on. You will be able to connect to your virtual machines through SSH protocol and a secure private key. And you will be also able to use a rich catalog of ready-to-use piece of software called generic enablers to easily create smart application. The support tool will be based on Redmine and will be available during the whole incubation process to support you and keep track of the different issues. And last, as explained, we will have a rich catalog of training and documentation collected in a specific knowledge base beside the relevant publication on data portability. So this is a very, very quick overview, and we follow dedicated session on all these tools and infrastructure. Thank you, Miguel.
Awesome, Alfonso. Thank you for this explanation. It is very valuable to our listeners. And we will proceed now with the Q&A. So I see that we have a lot of questions right here. I see the number, but I can't see the box. Let me try this way. Okay, I have it right now. So many questions. We'll go through one by one to answer them all, and we will be selecting which of the speakers are the best to answer each question. So we will get the presentation after the webinar. Yes, of course, the webinar is being recorded. The recording will be available on YouTube on the DAPSI channel, and the slides will be available on the slide share, and will be a public access to both content. Another question. Can a project based on SSI architecture, sorry, that works across all blockchain be considered for this program? There is no portability of all data, but there is portability of the identity and data registered in the DID with full self-sovereign of the users. There is also a component of data portability about documents, but it is only between users inside the same platform. Sarah or Najme, do you want to try to answer this question?
Well, first I will, this is Sarah, I will say that we cannot assess one by one specific ideas. We can clarify general questions. So I will give you a message that it's relevant. You have to consider that this project is for a specific topic. This is the data portability. So I think that we expect to see a relevant progress in the data portability domain during the program. Okay, and regarding the specificity, the technical specificity, I don't know if Najme want to mention something.
I don't see the question. Maybe you can repeat it because I think my chat is showing only 20 or something message. Can you repeat it, please?
Yes, some I received them privately.
Okay.
It's quite long, but I'll read it again. Hi, can a project based on SSI architecture that works across our blockchain be considered for this program. There is no portability of all data, but there is portability of the identity and data registered in the DID with full self-sovereign of the users. There is also a component of data portability about documents, but it is only between users inside the same platform.
Yeah, as Sarah said, I think the one of the main aspects of this project is data portability, because we kind of our target users are regular end users like you and me. So I want to, I don't know, I want to transfer my data from Facebook to another service provider. So what shall I do, or what shall Facebook do? So I would say, yeah, it should also address portability because this is one of the main aspects of this project.
Okay, next question. Do we need to be physically present at the incubator during the program? Maybe this question is for Augustin.
No, as I said, the online session will be online, so you don't have to be physically. If you want to be, we can offer you free space if you want to come to work in Paris. It would be any problem. And Cap Digital, it's well, we are outside Paris, they are in Paris, so that would be okay. The most important for us is to participate to the online session and also to the mentoring session, which once again, they will be online. So no problem on this way. The only moment that you have to be here, it's when we launch the program for the demolition pitch and for the last pitch. This, you have to be present physically.
Great. Where will the physical meetings be organized? I think Augustin answered that within, yeah, it will be defined. To which extent is scope limited to only personal data? Does the data interoperability subdomain also include confidential data and not per se personal data?
I would give you my opinion. Well, first of all, it's personal data, not personnel data. I think any personal data also contains some confidential data. I don't know what you mean by confidential data, but I would suppose, for example, my phone number, my date of birth, these are also considered confidential data. So yes, generally it also includes these data. But if by confidential you mean, for example, I don't know, medical records, that's another story. And I mean, you could address that, but I don't know how you want to make a use case out of it and show that your solution works, because usually these data, you cannot use it for public proposals and public solutions. But any general solution also should work on confidential data.
Thanks, Najma. Another question, how many hours a week of coaching there are? I think Augustin already mentioned it on the slide, but do you want to refer it again?
Yes, so will be 5 times 2 hours. And also you will have individual mentoring session. It will be 2 times 2 hours. For the first phase, and the second one, you will get only 1 mentor session of 2 hours in a few months. Well, after that, you can exchange with your mentor, up to you. So let's say this is what we defined, but after that, we adapt ourselves to the project and to needs. And we try also to do our best, which we usefully do with our startups and projects.
Good, so it could be flexible also. Great.
Yep.
Next question, what is the purpose of phase 1? To do a feasibility study research only, or rather build a prototype from day 1?
Okay, well, I think we are also quite flexible with this, because we are open to so many kind of solutions. But phase 1 lasts for around 5 months, and we are giving 100,000 euros. So we expect to see a relevant progress from the beginning till the end of the phase. In principle, we say that we expect a prototype, but perhaps in your specific case with the solution you propose, it does not make sense. Okay, it can be the case that you don't have a prototype at the end of phase 1, but we need to see relevant insights from your work. So I would say that in general terms, a feasibility study could be not enough. But of course, you have to really analyze on your own if it's a relevant progress what you propose, and in that case could be okay.
Yes, it will depend on the starting point of each project.
Yeah.
So another question, all training will be provided online? Yes, mainly online. Some training may be considered to be given on the 3 events also, but I would say that the biggest part of the training will be online. Next question, who are the must-have people on a team from the very beginning? Can it be a researcher only, or there should be a software developer as well?
Okay, I would say that this will depend on the kind of solution you propose. There is not a specific requirement. Of course, the team you included the proposal, it will be evaluated. So you should be aware of this and propose a complementary team with all the skills needed for the development of the project. And these people, this core team that will execute the project, should be included and described in the proposal. You cannot change your core team during the program. In principle, as we evaluate the team, you should maintain this core team during the project. Of course, this team could grow during the program. You can add more experts to the team, but you should maintain the core team. Okay.
Good. Next question. In the past, some EU funding calls experience very high demand and close early. For those of us working very hard towards the 22 April deadline, can you confirm this won't happen with DAPSI?
Well, it won't happen. The deadline is on the 22nd, and this is maintained. We are not going to close it before, because perhaps in other projects, if they have enough proposals, they close it, but no, it's not our case.
Good. Reassuring for this participant. Next question regarding natural persons, point 2.2 request for the following elements. A proof of every a proof of every participant in the project that she is legally established and working in an eligible country. If I'm a citizen of a new member state, need I to fill this criterion as well?
Well, this is an eligibility criterion. You must be sure that you are in compliance with this. If you are an EU member state citizen, it's okay, you are eligible. But there is not a section in the proposal to explain this. If you are selected for funding, we will ask for evidence of this, and we can request you a copy of a document to evidence that you are in fact a citizen of an eligible country. That's it.
Next question, and a relevant one, I think, is the DAPSI's funding for developing a solution of data compatibility and interoperability limited only to solution that deals with personal data, or will be a solution that deals with B2B data with little or non-personal data also supported?
I will also again give my own opinion. So the kind of a B2B solution would work, but with end user involvement. So if this B2B solution doesn't involve end users, then I think it's not fit. So it's not a fit for our call. So that's my opinion. I don't know,
Okay.
Sarah, do you have anything to add?
No, I agree with you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next question about eligibility. Can the SME be in on hold state while applying? It is only a matter of saving taxes during the time that the company is not operating with end users, only doing development.
Okay. Well, this on hold status, I'm not. I don't know what it means, but what we check to see if in fact you're an SME is according to the European Commission definition. So we will ask for information related to the staff head count, turnover, and balance sheet. So if you are an entity legally established and you are in the under the threshold to be an SME, it's okay.
Okay, I think it is important here to remember that SME are eligible, but also individuals as natural persons can be eligible. So I don't know if it was the question, but if you are waiting for the creation of the SME to do not have those operational costs, you can participate as an individual and just create the SME when you feel is the right time for it. So it's not only, the program is not only for companies, it's for individuals are also eligible. And in terms of entities, well, it's not just for SMEs, it's for research center, universities, etc. Almost everything, but large companies are not eligible in this open call. Next question, can project build on previous successful products or other innovation projects if it develops something valuable, a new feature, group, etc., in the scope of the call? Should we include a budget plan for the 5 month phase 1 or the 9 month phase 1+2 in the proposal? And another question related to that, is there an overhead, example, 20% as in case of other European funded projects, calculated on certain budget items to cover operating expenses?
Okay, so one by one, the first one regarding the possibility to start working in a previous successful product. Okay, we don't specify the maturity level of the starting point of your solution, but again, we expect to see a progress, so you can build based on a previous thing, but we expect to see some new work using the funding. So yeah, that's the answer. Regarding the budget, yeah, you have to explain the estimation of effort you will dedicate in phase 1 and phase 2. And regarding overheads category of costs, well, in the template, you have some specific categories already included. The overheads is not included, but there is a file called Other, where you can specify overheads if you consider that for you it's part of your budget estimation. We don't predefine this, and we don't specify a percentage for this, but you can include it if it's relevant for you.
Good. Next question. Possible solutions to address the data portability issues can range from theoretical solutions to a practical solution. Do you expect, for example, a software solution on phase 1, or can we propose a study with a theoretical project to then implement on phase 2?
Well, I think that we have already explain this. There is flexibility about the kind of solution and the starting point for this. But again, we want to see progress, some results. So yeah, different kind of solutions can be proposed, but taking into account that we want to see real effort dedicated to advancing your solution.
Thank you, Sarah. Next question, as a small startup, can we participate together with external collaborators?
Well, I don't know what you mean, sorry, with external collaborator. There is a possibility to apply in a consortium. So you could apply with your external collaborators, and they would be also partners in the consortium, and they will work with you in the solution. This is one possibility. If you don't plan to include them as a partner, when you explain your team in the proposal, you must include only people, staff of the applicant company. So you could not include these external collaborators as part of your staff. Then each case is different. Perhaps you foresee a very small contribution, for example, for a task that it's not a technical task for the project. For example, you collaborate for a design, for marketing activities or for law advice. You collaborate with external collaborators. If the contribution of these collaborators it's not so big and this is not a core activity for the solution, they can be subcontracted. But subcontracting activities are not really welcome. So it's better to avoid them, only to include them if they are not really a core part of the solution.
Yes, and they should be justified on the proposal, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Next question, can the proposal contain pre-commercialization or commercialization activities, or should they focus purely on technical development?
Well, I think that the supporting activities, and perhaps Augustine can help me with this.
Yes, I can reply.
Okay, perfect.
I would say definitely both, because what we are looking for, it's sure one way how you will develop with the technical part. I would say, as you have seen a little bit on the online, what we propose on the subjects online, yes, there's a technical part, but I would say 80% it's the impact that you're bringing with your solution, which means understand also your clients, understand what your value proposition is, etc., etc. So yes, if you have any pre-contract or contract, that can be very interesting. I would say you will be a little bit more advanced than those that just have a great technical idea, which it's also very okay for us. But as soon as you start already to sell, I mean, we will also give you some KPIs in this way. So, and I think it's also interesting for us to see how things are going on and to see the impact that you have around your clients and how you sell. And this is also kind of discussion that we'll have during the mentoring sessions.
Thank you, Augustin. Next question is about an hot topic of the moment. There are currently discussions about Zoom information leaking. Could we port our meetings to another platform in order to avoid IP leaking? I guess this question may be for Augustin, because you mentioned that for the mentoring you use Zoom.
I mentioned Zoom because it works. First of all, I'm not a very big fan of debating, is this one good or not? I think our goal in this project is that you progress. If the CIA is listening to us right in this moment, I'm really sorry for them, but I have nothing to say to them. And well, I prefer that we talk more about what you are developing, the impact that you have, how you find new clients, and the business that you realize then what will be the right tool to use. Maybe we'll use another one, but definitely this is not the debate on this project.
Okay, there are a lot of news coming out about this,
well,
but I think
if you turn on your TV right now, I think you have a lot of really ugly news. So
yes, but I think
let's keep it positive, right?
Zoom, yes, Zoom team is trying to fix it. People who are using Zoom are getting updates about the platform. So, but let's have a look at this.
Let's keep it simple and positive, right?
Exactly. Next question: will travel be reimbursed, or this part of the subscriber's budget? The infra and tool are to be used or optional? So 2 questions here.
Well, first regarding travel, this is part of the budget. We don't pay extra money for this. You will have to afford this cost with the budget of up to 150,000 euros. And regarding the infrastructures and tools, this is optional. This is thought to support you. But well, perhaps we encourage you to use it during the program, and yeah.
Okay, good. Next question. The paperwork to create the company will be done after the deadline of the application. We plan to apply as individuals, but then we'll be a company. We will be a company. Is there any problem with that?
Well, I think that this kind of things sometimes happen during the project life. So in principle, there is not a problem. If needed, we could make a modification in the contract if this is the case. But the only thing that you have to consider is that the team, the expert team included in the proposal, should not change even if you are a group of individuals or a company.
Exactly, and consider also the limit of funding. If you are one individual or 2 individual, you may not be able to get up to 150,000 euros. You should maybe, but if you involve at least 3 individuals, you can obtain or get up to the same amount of you were applying as a startup. Next question. Sorry, can you please answer questions in order they were submitted? I'm doing it actually, at least in my chat box. Next question. Hi, can a project based on, well, this is, I think we answered this question at the beginning, so it was copy paste. Next question, is personal data monetization in the scope of the program?
It will come into the other subdomain, I would say. Yeah, so yes.
Good. Next question, e.g. company confidential data, such as company secrets. I think the question is if it's also a relevant topic for this call. Company confidential data.
I do not know if I get this question right, but I mean, we want to address the data portability for end users, for regular end users to access their personal data rights. I don't know if there is no end user involvement. I don't think it will fit if just is inside the company. I don't know, Sarah, what do you think?
Yeah, well, with this short description, yeah, I think the same. It seems that it's not in the scope of the project.
Next question, is the goal by the end of the project to have an MVP?
Well, I think that this is similar to other questions. In principle, yeah, I would say we expect a minimum viable product or service, because perhaps you are not developing a product as such, or a solution relevant. So sometimes the MVP concept perhaps is not correct depending on your solution proposed, but it gives an idea of the maturity level of solutions expected.
Good. Next question. After the deadline on April 22nd, when did we hear about the results? How long is the reviewing phase?
Well, I think that it was included in the presentation. We expect to have the results by mid-June, I think, and yeah, and communicate people rejected and selected people the results by this time.
Okay. Next question. The project can be a B2B solution or must be also a B2C solution?
So as I said before, a B2B solution works only if there is an end user involvement in the process. So of course, a B2 solution also works. So by C, if you mean consumer and customer, yeah, for sure, I would say it would fit.
Thank you. Next question. Is the program aimed only to general architecture solution about data portability that need later to be integrated in real use cases, or can also accompany with a specific use case using data portability architecture?
Well, I think that both are possible. Yeah, it can be the case that you you apply this with a specific use case, or yeah, or to address general topics. Yeah.
Next question. The project domain includes controller, processor, and recipient, or any?
Does it mean about the data controller, data processor, data recipient, I think, right? I don't like data controller is kind of an officer, which is kind of a legal entity. I don't think so. I don't think that we need that. Not sure about this question.
Okay. Well, if you have other question, or if you want to further information, you can always write an email to DAPSI at ngi.eu, and we have your question answered as well.
I would say the recipient for sure. If by recipient that you mean the regular end users, the processor, of course, because the processor of the data are usually the service provider. I'm not sure what they mean by controller, but what I have in mind is about data controller and data officer. I would say no, we don't deal with data officer in this case.
Okay. Next question. Are you eligible to DAPSI if you are in the process of being selected in other next generation internet open call?
Yes, there is no problem. Always, you don't plan to fund the same thing with double funding. Of course, if they are different projects, is totally okay.
Next question. So if 3 people apply as individuals, they can be eligible to the 150,000 if they create the company after the program is joined?
Well, I think that this is in relation to a previous question. 3 people can get this amount, 150,000 euros. Also companies, but someone was asking what happened if they apply first as individuals, and then as they are planning to establish a company, if the legal status of the applicant changes. So if we have this specific case, where you first apply as individual people, and then you constitute a company, yeah, you get the same money, 150,000 euros. But
Okay.
we don't ask you to establish the company. This was a specific question we had from a participant.
Yeah. And thank you. Next question, the subvention for not SME is 37,500 euros for each person in the team. Can we present a team of 4 people and opt for the 150,000 as it is for the SME, or 75,000 as in the slide is the limit for no SME application?
Well, here, if we have one person alone applying, the amount is 37,500,000 euros. If we have a team of 2 natural persons applying, the total amount is 75,000 euros. They have to agree how they distribute it between the both persons in the team. And for any other case, 3 persons, 4 persons, a person plus a legal entity, 2 legal entities, any other combination, you can get up to you can get the 150,000 euros.
Good. And last question. So if 3 people apply as individual, they can be eligible to the 150,000 euros if they create the company after joining the program. Yes, well, the question was already replied.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, but sorry,
yeah,
again, the message here is that there is not this is not mandatory, or there's not a requirement to create a company. So not compulsory at all.
Yes, it will just be maybe a good sign that the project is getting another level of maturity, but it's not. Yeah. So I would like to thank you all for joining our webinar today, especially thanks to all the speakers and who contributed to this webinar. Thank you for the 38 people that stayed with us until the end of this session. Please remember that the application ends on the 22 April at midday. You should apply on F6S. Please follow us on the social media. Send us your questions through the email dapsi@ngi.eu, and wish you all good luck in your application. Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
All,
Bye.
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 Good luck.
Papà! Oh papà, ne capire uma coisa.